You're listening to Virtual PA Services Podcast. Why does an accountant need a virtual PA?
So, let's dive right into it. Accountants today have, well, they've got their hands absolutely full. I mean, think about it. They're juggling multiple clients, all of whom expect everything done yesterday. Tight deadlines, high stakes, and frankly, a workload that seems to keep piling up.
It's honestly such a high-pressure environment. And when you think about just how much can go wrong if a report isn't perfect or submitted on time, the margin for error is slim to none. And these clients, they don't just want speed, they want quality too.
Exactly. And it becomes even worse during specific times of the year. Tax season. It's like a battlefield out there. One accountant I spoke to said he's lucky if he gets 5 hours of sleep a night during that period.
I can believe it. It's one of those professions where you're constantly chasing deadlines. And then there's the unpredictability. I've heard about clients who just drop a stack of bank statements on an accountant's desk and expect perfectly processed reports overnight.
Oh, absolutely. And some clients are, I'll just say it, they're relentless. It's like, here's my mess, have it ready by morning. And this doesn't even factor in the regular day-to-day grind. Keeping track of everything, monitoring cash flows, reconciling accounts. It's a lot.
And when you're stretched like that, things inevitably slip. It's not even a case of being inefficient. It's just human limits, isn't it? No matter how skilled you are, there are only so many hours in a day.
Exactly right. And it all escalates. Because not only are accountants overworked, but they also start losing time to, the basic admin tasks that just suck the energy right out of them.
And that's the thing. It's those routine tasks, the smaller jobs that can add up. Like scheduling meetings, replying to emails, and just, maintaining some kind of organization amidst all this chaos.
Yeah. It all snowballs. So instead of being able to focus on the more complex bits, strategy, analysis, advising their clients, they're buried under a mountain of admin. And once that starts happening, it's just a one-way ticket to burnout.
Burnout, exactly. It's such a big risk in this profession, isn't it?
It really is. It almost makes you wonder how they keep it together sometimes, right?
And when they don't, or I guess when they're struggling to, a solid support system becomes critical. Something or someone who can manage the load.
And that's exactly where virtual PAs step in. They're not just some trendy piece of software. They really address these pain points head on, taking on the tasks that pull accountants away from what really matters.
They really are. And it's not just surface-level help, is it? A good virtual PA can step in and handle some of those core, time-consuming tasks. Things like categorizing bank statements, creating precise financial summaries, even generating reports clients need to see every month.
Exactly. And it's not just saving time, it's creating breathing room, isn't it? So the accountant can focus on the bigger picture, like planning strategies or analyzing trends rather than drowning in the details.
And let's not forget the confidentiality aspect here. We're talking about client-sensitive information, things that you really can't afford to mishandle. A virtual PA worth their salt will manage these materials with total discretion and professionalism.
Right. It's not a casual promise. I've even heard about firms where their PAs were seamlessly integrated into workflows like Xero or Sage. They're already fluent in these tools, so the transition isn't disruptive at all.
Amazing, isn't it? I remember a story about a mid-sized accounting firm. They brought in a virtual PA to help with tracking and reconciling weekly financial data. Within a month, the whole team was working more efficiently because they didn't have to worry about the day-to-day minutiae.
Oh, that's a classic example, isn't it? It's the difference between working overtime just to stay afloat and finally feeling a bit more in control. And the fact that accountants can tailor how much or how little work they offload is a big plus as well.
Absolutely. It's scalable, and that's key. For some, it might be occasional help with invoicing or bank rec. For others, it's almost running a full back office, organising schedules, and even answering client calls. It's flexible, and Honestly, it's such a relief to have that kind of support.
It really underscores how much smoother things can run when there's a reliable system in place. And it doesn't mean accountants have to let go of control. They're still calling the shots. You know, Helen, what really amazes me is how naturally virtual PAs integrate into an accountant's workflow. They manage to enhance efficiency without getting in the way, which is such a game changer when juggling multiple priorities.
Exactly. It's not like you're introducing a whole new system or process. Most virtual PAs are already familiar with tools like Sage and Xero, so they're ready to hit the ground running from day one.
Right? And that's a huge deal, isn't it? Because the last thing any accountant needs is more headaches trying to onboard someone who doesn't understand the basics of their tools.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole point is to make life easier, not harder, right?
Exactly. And it's not just the tools, but how they adapt to your style of working. For instance, I remember hearing about this accountant. He was drowning in admin work, to the point where he'd be in the office until, well, midnight some nights. Then he brought on a virtual PA.
Oh, and let me guess, they completely turned things around.
You got it. Within weeks, they'd taken over scheduling, daily reconciliations, even some client communication. By outsourcing those routine tasks, he got his evenings back. He said he couldn't remember the last time he'd had dinner with his family before that.
That's incredible. It just shows how a dependable partnership can really make a long-term difference. And it's not just about time saved. It's the peace of mind, knowing those tasks are handled professionally and, most importantly, confidentially.
Right. And that confidentiality can't be overstated. I mean, these are client-sensitive, make-or-break details. Virtual PAs have to operate at the absolute highest standard of discretion.
And they do. The best ones operate almost like an extension of the accountant's team, so integrated that it feels seamless. It's like putting the right pieces in place to run the most efficient machine possible.
Exactly. Keeping everything humming. And the accountant still stays in control, deciding what gets handed off and what stays on their plate.
That flexibility really is key. Whether you need a bit of help here and there, or want someone to manage half your workflow, it's all completely customizable to what works for you.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's adaptable, scalable, and frankly, it's a lifesaver. For many accountants, it's not just about staying afloat, it's about thriving, even during the most hectic times.
And on that note, I think we've really covered all the bases here. From the challenges accountants face, to the transformative power of a good virtual PA.
Absolutely. And if this is something you've been considering or, just thinking might help lighten the load, it sounds like now is the time to take that step.
On that note, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, take care.
Cheers, everyone.
Stay tuned for our next podcast.